Thank you all so much for watching and listening to my show, William Wallace for America. With me today is one of my favorite guests to have on regular, Alfonzo, Rachel, Zoe. How are you doing, my friend?
Groovy, man. Even groovy now that I'm on your show, man. I'm ready to party. Let's do it.
Well, look, I tell you what, you always bring the fun, and that's what I like about you, man. You're because not only do you present things in a funny way, and I think that's how people like to hear it. You know,
Sure.
you do not religion, you don't do fuddy duddy, you do you but you do faith in a fun way, and you do politics in a humorous way,
Mm,
and I think that truth and humor
mm.
is one of the best ways to reach people, and that's one of the things I love about you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. That humor is a good elixir, man, to help the medicine go down. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, the thing is, truth, man. Truth is already beautiful. Truth
Right.
is already delicious, man. You know, as the Lord says, man. You know, your law is like honey in my mouth, man. It's already sweet.
Right.
And facts can be, I mean, I know some people might think that, truth and facts is like kind of splitting hairs, but truth on its own, truth as in the Lord is sweet and is beautiful.
Right.
But you can find out some bad news that's some facts and be like, oh man, that really sucks.
Yeah. You don't like the truth then.
Yeah. Those kind of facts, but I mean,
Lie to me in that case.
right. I mean, I don't think of myself as a comedian per se. I remember I tried stand up. Somebody like pushed me into doing stand up one time, man. I don't do stand up, man. I'm not stand up. He's like, come
I
on, man,
used
just do it.
I used to do stand up.
Yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it. I hope you have some stuff that you can put up online too, man. We can check that stuff out, man. But my stand up routine, I tried it once. I hated it, and I think the crowd hated it too. I'm not a stand up comedian, but I do try to make the stuff fun, man. That's about the best I can do.
And look, they can find all your stuff at Bronze Serpent Media, right?
BronzeSerpentMedia.com. That's right, sir.
Yeah, because I noticed when you go on there, there's different sections. You got one where you do then that's your different genres that you offer.
Yes. So like, if people just want more of the politics and the social observations, that's the Zoloft. That's my place for chuckle therapy. It's like our sane space from the Global Rubber Room in the Zoloft. The Zopium Den is the house of the anti-fuddy-duddy Bible study. And it's where we're going through the Bible chapter by chapter, verse by verse, to show that it is so applicable today more than ever. The book is never irrelevant. And the bottom line of it is that the Bible is all about Yeshua HaMashiach himself. We follow him. We don't follow religion. We follow Jesus.
Right.
That's the way he meant it. And then I have my music project, Sledge X, where we rock the gospel, dirty sound, clean message kind of stuff.
Exactly. Hey, you might even see a sneak appearance from me in there, right?
That's right. That's right. We got Will in there, man, doing in a music video.
That was one of your music videos. I love being a part. Well, one of the things that I'm talking about more and more on my shows is, where is freedom under attack, and where are we losing freedom? And that was one of the things that I want to talk to you about today is, where are we losing freedom in America?
Oh man. Well, you remember how we was talking about like truth is beautiful, and facts, that's kind of like another thing. I mean, and now some people say, well, that's just your opinion, so that's not facts. But if you're asking my observation on it,
Right.
freedom is one of those things where it is not necessarily being taken away from us as much as it's being given away. Freedom is one of those things where it has to be clear on what freedom is, and people aren't really defining what freedom is, not just defining what freedom is, but who freedom is. And last but not least, I would offer to you that freedom itself seems to be the pursuit, and liberty and freedom has become an idol. Rather than worshiping the author of freedom himself, the Lord, people put a premium on the liberty and the freedom itself and have turned that into an idol. And like I said, people can engrave this image any way that they want to. And the more people try to shape this idea of liberty without recognizing the balance of liberty, you might notice that. And I'm not an etymologist.
Oh no, I love how you're saying this. This is amazing.
Well, I say this because I keep meaning to look this up, man. Like I said, I'm not an etymologist, but when I hear the word liberty, I hear the word Libra in it. And we know that Libra has to do with the balance. And people aren't considering the balance of liberty. It's all about my liberty. I don't care about your liberty, right? They may patronize each other and say it's a we kind of freedom. It's like, no, 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 no. People have their own ideas and they go from extremes. You know, one idea of liberty may actually be a redeeming kind of liberty, and another kind of liberty is just not conducive with liberty at all, and is usually perversion. And they want to be free to be perverts. So we have this upset in the balance of liberty. So to give you that formula, well, that's what's happening. If we can elaborate on that. I just don't want to do a bunch of jaw jacking, but you know, there is what I offer to you. It's people giving away their liberties, both the right and the left.
Exactly.
Are giving away their liberty, giving away their freedom, are making an idol out of freedom and liberty. And lastly, or whichever order we want to put it in, there isn't a definition and a standard of what liberty is. And that's because people are thinking of liberty as a what. They don't recognize liberty as the who, the Lord himself.
Wow. This is why I love having you on the show. You always have some great new insight. You know, you describe freedom and liberty this time in a way similar to what we talked about when people say they're proud Americans. You know, and you always say, you know, you always said then, you know, people like to say they're proud Americans, but pride is a bad thing. You know, that, you know, pride's not necessarily a good thing. I understand that people want to say they're proud Americans, feeling like it's a good thing, when the reality is we should be, as you, and I'll give you credit for this because you said it first, we should be grateful Americans. And I think that is just as profound as what you said today about defining what freedom and liberty is, you know, and who it's from instead of the what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, you know, unless your pride is prefaced by the Lord himself. I mean, the Lord is the only one really worth boasting about when you get down to it. He's the only, but I mean, pride is the first sin, Will, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the first sin, and pride goes before destruction. None of us are exempt to that. I mean, you know, all this pride, I mean, what is our American pride led to? It's led to a month that we celebrate the pride and perversion. And I don't care whose pride it is. It doesn't matter. It will all go before destruction. If that pride is not filtered through the Lord first, the one, it's like whatever I do, Will, if I'm going to be proud of it, I am proud of the Lord who blessed me to be able to do it. Before I would ever say I'm proud of my marriage, I am proud of the Lord who blessed me with the marriage that I have. I would not insult my wife by saying that I am proud of her. I will say I am grateful. Right? That's a whole nother level.
And you and your wife are a great team, by the way. So I understand that you're grateful because every time I see the two of you working together on one of your shows, you know, I can just tell, you know, how good of a team you are. But I just wanted to compliment y'all on a good marriage. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I appreciate you, man. And you know, that's my party partner, man. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, and that's what it comes down to. Because the thing about pride, Will, is that pride is always going to be about me. You know, my pride or your pride will always be about you. And you can't take the selfishness, the selfish factor out of that, and you can't take the self-righteous factor out of it. And a lot of times you can't take denial out of it,
Right.
or whichever, those things that will poison us. Gratitude is something else, because gratitude you extend beyond yourself and you have to go directly to the source, and that's going to be the Lord himself.
Yeah.
Right. And then that is what builds that character and that integrity in us and that humility and that servant's heart, that we have this God-given freedom to be able to serve each other and help each other make this a great nation and a grateful nation. Pride is the thing that gets in the way of that, but we're conditioned different. You see it all over the place, man. We're conditioned to be prideful. School pride, you know, pride here, pride, everything is pride. You know, it's like, dude, what about gratitude, man?
Can I say that I am grateful during the month of June for the rainbow that God gave us?
Come on now. Yes, sir.
You like that little twist on it. And look, and I'm the guy, you know, that says, look, I'm respectful of other people's freedoms. You know, if you know, whatever freedom you choose, that's your look, be grateful to God for giving you the freedom and liberty to be whoever you want to be, and whether I agree or not, but I find through what you've taught me and what I've learned from you bringing out, is that when we are grateful, it's empowering.
Yes.
When we're grateful for the blessings that we are generally like to say we're prideful for, when we're grateful for those blessings because it honors the person who blessed us with them, when we're grateful, it's powerful. And Zoe, one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on today, not just because I love bringing you on all the time and everything like that, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about that today is because I want to thank you because you've taught me some really good lessons via just interviewing you on a podcast. I feel it was a blessing to get you on the show the first time, the second time, and every time I've learned something. And I can only hope that we teach some people more of the things that you have to say. But I am grateful because since we've talked about gratefulness on the show in the past, and especially this time, I've had instances where I've gotten to share that sense of gratitude for others. And I have received more from being grateful than I have from being prideful. And it's made a big difference in my life. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh man, hey, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with you, man. And I kind of struggle with you saying that, man, because it's like, Will, prideful? You already seem like a humble nature dude, man.
Oh no, when I say prideful, meaning that I used to think of being
well, yeah.
proud American, but you help flip it around as we talked about gratefulness, and that's what I wanted to talk about specifically in our show, not just to compliment you, but as a way to. I've always said on my show, I want to find ways to unite more people. I believe that our freedoms and liberties in America are under attack.
Yes.
I believe that the best way for us to save our country is to find the things that we can unite on. And I think one of the ways that we do that is by showing people how to be grateful for the blessings that we have in our country, being grateful for our rights that were endowed by our creator, but do it in such a way that we show others how to unite on those same principles to save the foundation of our country, which supplies freedom and which protects the freedoms and liberties that were endowed by our creator. Is that something that you would agree with?
I totally agree with it, man. And that right there. But at the same time, as much as I agree with it, therein is where the problems. That's where the fighting
Right.
starts.
Exactly. And that's why I'm bringing you on, Zoe, because you've got some really good thoughts on this that I think that the two of us help really do a good job getting this word out to people, because I think our country is in a lot of problems right now, and a lot of people are focused on those problems being the narratives or the ideologies or the news stories. People are focused on whether this politician is trying to create a law or this Supreme Court decision, and nobody's really focusing, on finding those things that unite us on that freedom and liberty, that and those blessings that if we're all more grateful for and more appreciative of, I think more people come together to save a country that I think has done so much good for the world.
Amen, man. And here's the thing. So now we're trying. The question is, or the objective is finding those things, that we can unite around, right? Okay, I'll throw one at you. Jesus, right? Oh, hey, where you going? Where you guys going? Come back. Get back. It's okay.
Wait.
Right. I mean,
I'll be right back.
It's like, but it's the thing is, we talk about, because you have a lot of people who would say, like, well, how come we can't just unite around being Americans? How come we can't just unite around the flag? And I'm like, okay, well, we got to define what it means to be an American now, don't we? Right? You got basically two polarized ideas of what America is. Like you got, I mean, there's different ideas of what America, but let's stick to the main two. You got those who fantasize that America is a democracy. And then you got those who understand that this is a republic. Mm-hmm. Right now, unfortunately, with those who understand that this is a republic, and oftentimes they will consider themselves Republicans. But you got a lot of deviants in the Republican Party who are starting more and more to act like Democrats, right?
Right.
You see them out there promoting for democracy. Our democracy is under attack. It's like, dude, we're a republic.
Yeah, we're Republican. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
In a democracy, the individual loses freedom and liberty.
Absolutely. I mean, we got democratic processes of how we, we elect our representatives and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, their job is to maintain our God-given rights in this
Exactly.
republic. So between that, now, like I said, you got people who say, why can't we just be Americans? Like, why don't we go one step further? Before I say let's unite around the American flag, I would say let us unite around Jehovah Nissi, my flag. Who is my flag? The Lord is my banner. I'll get behind that, because that flag is fixed and eternal and where our rights come from.
Mhm.
That is my primary constitution. If we really want to do the Constitution of the United States of America a favor and uphold it, it has to rest on something itself fixed. And even the founders knew that.
That's
When
right.
they drafted that Declaration of Independence, they said, man, we pledge our lives, our fortune, our sacred honor, appealing to the supreme judge of the world. That's
Right.
the Lord. So that's where we got to be. But you got a lot of people who and let's just go ahead and talk about the Republican Party. Let's talk about it.
Ooh.
Um,
Wait, I'll be right back.
I know, right? Who are saying, we need to take America back, right? It's like, Republicans, you have yet to take your party back. You haven't taken the schools back. You haven't taken back the media, news and information media.
That's right.
You got a whole bunch of ground to cover on things, but y'all want the big victory of taking America back. And take it back for what? And take it back to what? You haven't defined that question either. So it's like all these things that Republicans, these ambitions that they have, I guess, for our country.
Mhm.
And where is the agreement?
Exactly.
You know what it's like, Bill? It's like saying, well, what amount of taxes is fair? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
to what point are Americans this make America great? Okay, well, what point in history are you talking about when America was great? Who has the answer for that?
And what's interesting about that is you notice that there's people who've picked what their idea of what he was talking about was, and they'll pick they pick slavery. They say, oh, he wants to take America back to slavery. He wants to take America back to when women couldn't vote. His idea say make America great. So to your point, people when you're not specific, people are subjective and apply it to what they want to apply it to, instead of, like you said, when you get specific, we realize that specificity, well, the tongue twister makes all the difference in the world in how people react.
Amen. Right. And
Yeah.
the rhetoric that they throw out there, man, you want to take us back to, slavery or Jim Crow, or you want to put them back in chains, right?
Exactly
It's like,
right.
You mean take us back to the place when Democrats were writing the laws, the Jim Crow laws?
Yeah.
Who fought to keep slavery legal, Dred Scott, a revocation of civil rights, voter rights. That was all the stuff that America is so bitter over about racism. Well, Democrats did that. So
yeah. Exactly. And a lot of people, like, how can we not realize that our nation is blessed? And how can and that's, to your point, why I've enjoyed saying more about being grateful, about being a grateful American, than I am being a prideful American. Because when you look at the history of America, and you look at what we have done, through divine intervention. I mean, there's absolutely, you look at the Civil War, for instance, and bringing that up because we brought that up a second ago. The Civil War, for instance, has not only freed, certain people, it's freed everybody from bondage. I believe that precedence of the Civil War is what is the shot over the bow to the rest of the world, that slavery in general was a bad thing. And so, and when you look at all the different things, voting rights for women, when you look at all the different rights that we have protected with our Constitution, that all started with the founding fathers, who said our rights are endowed by our Creator, and you take it from there. Divine intervention, I think, has gotten in every major step, or every major circumstance in America.
Definitely, man. And Democrats were also the enemies of women's suffrage. You know, the Republicans were the allies for women's suffrage. That's how, you know, women got the right to vote, right? And see, the thing is, now since the Civil War, um, the you know, Democrats, man, they have infiltrated, they've invaded the education system, and you got a lot of Republicans today who have been educated in the Democrat-dominated education system, and you got a lot of Republicans who don't think that the Civil War was about slavery. They deny it. It's like, oh, the Civil War was never about slavery. It was about Northern aggression. They've turned Lincoln into the enemy, and they've
Yeah.
bought the narrative that Lincoln was the enemy, and the South wasn't doing anything wrong. And this is another area where Republicans have grossly handed over power to the Democrat Party, because a lot of Republicans, it goes over their head. They don't even realize while they're out there waving their Confederate flag. I'm like, what the crap are you doing?
Yeah.
You wonder why the Democrats were able to steal the White House, because you were waving their flag. Their flag.
They're mad at you. They're mad.
So it's like you got the Confederacy, which was established by the Democrat Party, and you got Republicans saying that Lincoln was a tyrant who didn't even care about freeing the slaves or anything like that. And it's like, you've bought what the Democrats have sold you.
Mhm.
And it's Republicans have done this to themselves. They're waving the Trump flag like at NASCAR and stuff like that with the Confederate flag underneath it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
You know, you're flagging in the victory for the Democrat Party.
You're only handing them the victory. You're only handing them the glory
Yes.
of being able to say, look at that prideful person.
Absolutely. And they chalk it up to Southern pride. And it's like, and you can't take that away from it. It's like, dude, that flag has nothing to do with Southern pride. It has everything to do with Democrat shame. The Democrats made that flag. They made the Confederacy. And you have a lot of people, and this isn't about the South. It's just what they've been conditioned to believe. It's the Democrats that I have a contention with, not the South.
And to your point, it's like I had a conversation with someone today. I said, what happens is people get so mixed up in the narratives and the ideologies on either side that they don't focus on the solution to a real problem.
Yeah.
And the real problem or the real issues get distorted by those narratives and ideologies in such a way that nothing gets solved. And also, to your point, you know, like when it comes to election integrity and all kinds of other issues, you know, the Republicans like to blame the Democrats, or somebody blames the Democrats. And I always say, look, you know, the Republicans are just as much to blame because they haven't done what was been needed to do to stop it.
Yes.
They've allowed this to happen. So, you know, while I'm Republican, I have lots of friends who are Republicans. I base a caucus, if you will, with Republicans, and I go to a lot of Republican events. I'm not afraid to say, look, guys, we got to change this from within, you know, because the problem is that the leadership of both parties has used narratives and ideologies to control us in such a way that we're not focusing on the problems. Democrats, we might be blaming them for it, but Republicans, we're standing around doing nothing.
Right.
You know, the leadership, you know, the people in the party. The only problem I think many of the people in the party have is that they're waiting for the right leader who campaigns a good talk, but when he ends up being the rhino, everybody goes, "Oh well, we're going home. Yes. See you later."
Thank you, man. And see, that's got to stop. Will, you know, it's you know, it's like, yeah, there's too much of this waiting for some political messiah. It's like Republicans, they feel like their values are only official in the hands of somebody that they voted for and has taken office. Like, look, man, we, the individual. I mean, I thought that's what we're all about. It's like the individual, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes we're too individualistic to our own peril. You know, we want to be left alone. You know, it's like, hey, look, leave me alone. Yeah, and you know, when you elect that representative to represent your ideas, that's exactly what he's going to go in there like. I just want to be left alone. Exactly. I want to go and do my thing, right? But we have to promote it in the culture. We have to give it stability in the culture. Have to have that representation in the culture. So our political representation has something to stand on. Our political representation is not stable. It's built on sand. Because we're not out there really, well, it's not so much that we're not trying, but we're in enemy territory. You know, we talk about people being dependent on stuff like that. Look at us. We're dependent on all the platforms that the liberals own. You know, we can't even operate like without them
Thank
wiping
you,
our.
Facebook. No.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you,
Yeah.
Facebook. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you, Twitter. You know, even Twitter is they still got all their bots on there. It's not cleaned up really.
Right.
Um, so we're dependent on all this stuff, and like I said, we stick to these narratives that the Democrats have drafted, and Republicans have. I'll give you an example of how deep the brainwashing goes. And sorry if I'm stepping on any
Oh,
toes,
oh no, you're not at all. That's why I bring you on. You've got great talk. But I am saving a thought for you. I do have a thought for you in a second, but go ahead.
and Trump is one of the worst offenders of doing this. He does it all the time. He keeps you have Republicans out there that keep calling Democrats radicals. They're not radicals. They're not radicals at all. Not even close. Matter of fact, in any ideology or any religion or anything like that, there's no such thing, really.
Right.
Radical itself means root. And at the founding of the Republican Party, you had even the founders of the radical Republican parties even tells you it's like when we talk about radicalism in terms of a political movement or political
Mhm.
office, we are talking about the ones who want to get down to the root of what this is.
Exactly.
That's what a radical is. Radical is somebody who has a core, somebody who is stable, somebody who is rooted. Do these Democrats look stable to you? Do they look rooted? They're nuts, right? They're not radicals at all. But you got Trump out there keep calling them radicals, giving away our distinction. The Republican Party was founded as radicals.
And when you
Radicals sticking to the root of where our liberty comes from, God himself.
and when you keep calling somebody names,
Mhm.
whether it's a proper identification or not, you're only adding fuel to the fire
Yeah.
of division yourself. You're dividing people the same way you pointed the finger. And look, and I'm not, and I know you use Trump as the example here, but he's just that might be one example of hundreds of examples
Yeah.
of Republicans that are always pointing fingers. And I like to say this, and I don't know if I ever told you this or not. I always tell people, when you talk about conservative values, I get upset that the Republican Party stole the word conservative.
Mhm.
I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative, but I know Republicans who say they're conservatives that are as far from conservative as it gets, and I know Democrats who are more conservative than some of my Republican friends, and so that's a label that I think even when you label a Democrat as being a liberal, what's happened when you put these labels on people, you remove you create a playing field that you cannot negotiate any solution on. And by taking away and by throwing stones at each other with these narratives, you lose that ability to come together in such a way that we improve our country, we save our country, we save freedom, and we learn to be those grateful Americans that value freedom because we know where it came from, and we do it in a way that protects it for everybody.
Oh, I dig it, man. I dig it. And if I may, can I offer you this? Um,
Absolutely.
Lincoln himself, because they were trying to call Democrats conservatives back then, and conservative based on what? Because you had a lot of Democrats back then, boasting in their Christianity and stuff like that, as they were taking the Lord's name in vain and perverting His word.
And burning
Uh,
crosses and whatnot.
yeah, it came to that, right? While they're called, the KKK is really a bunch of pagans. They're not Christians at all. But the thing is, the Democrats they postured themselves that way, and it kind of got them this label of being conservative, this moral group, right? Who can even sell you the morality of slavery, right? And Lincoln himself says, "You guys call yourselves conservatives? No, you're not conservatives. Your conservatives are right here. Holla at your boy, right? This is Lincoln. You guys call yourselves conservative. As we, as the Republican parties, we stick to the intention of the founders. We stick to the ideas of old, hence the grand old party. We stick to those things. We know what works. We know what we got to stick with. You guys are trying to try some new, unredeeming stuff,
Mm-hmm.
while and try to trying some new things to keep an old evil going, right?
That's
Is
right.
basically what you're trying to do. And so, I mean, with me, I don't want to let Democrats get away with the labels that they do. If the Democrats want to label themselves as a liberal, I won't let them get away from it. It's like, yeah, you're absolutely liberal. You're liberal with taxing people. You're liberal with spending their money. You're liberal with borrowing their money. You're liberal with your power. You're liberal with what an idea of a person who qualifies as a human being and who doesn't, who qualifies as a woman or a man. You guys are liberal with all. You're liberal with imposing your laws. You're liberal with all this stuff. You take liberties at the forced expense of other people. The first classical liberal himself was the devil, right? Who sold Adam and Eve on the idea that you're not really free. You should be able to design freedom on your own accord, man. You go ahead and eat that fruit, man. You're not really free. That's what classical liberalism, that is the evolution of classical liberalism, because who can define it? What's liberal and liberating to me may not be liberating to somebody else. And they're going to try to legislate what they think is liberty against mine.
And didn't Republicans used to, or didn't conservatism used to be neoclassical liberalism?
That's what they try to say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's around the same time that it switched. Basically when Republicans started using more conservatism and liberals started using more liberalism around that same time frame.
Sure.
But Zoe, I'll contend that we're not talking about the biggest part of the population. We're talking about a small part of the left and a small part of the right that is able to manipulate everybody going towards the middle with those narratives and ideologies instead of teaching each other gratitude and without teaching each other where the solutions are really when we come together and we put that aside. And I think when we learn gratitude and when we learn how to put the narratives and ideologies aside, we not only see each other for being human instead of being, a label, if you will.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, the only thing I really care to be recognized or remembered as is a God-fearing man. That's that when it comes down to it. That's a label, that's a brand I'm totally okay with. As far as, when it comes to the political discourse, so yes, I vote Republican. Right. And I'm not a Reagan Republican or a Goldwater Republican or a Goldwater, because I'm a Christian Republican. That I model my.
I love that. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
Oh, come on, man. We got to make that.
That's a good. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
We got to make that the fashion. I mean, because people try to base their ideas of being a Republican on something that's fallible. It's like, man, why not base your republicanism on something that's fixed and eternal and perfect and the one who actually gave us our liberty? I'm a Christian Republican.
I love that. And the good thing about that is that takes the narratives and the ideologies out of it. Yeah. Because we all know that Christianity cannot thrive with narratives and ideologies. It can only thrive with the truth.
The truth. That's right.
I came back to that.
That's right. Come on back to the truth, man. Because the thing is that, because a lot of people will say, it's like when you talk about thriving, a lot of people say with these Democrats, we just need to ignore them, or who cares what they think? Lots of people care what they think, and you don't ignore an infection, and Democrats, they thrive on ignorance, so we want to be able to have the truth. It's like I said, we have these terms like liberal and conservative and whatnot. Well, even with conservatives, you got to define what it is that you're trying to conserve. What, and then you got to define the liberty that you claim that you want to conserve. So there's a lot of stuff, that it does get muddled up. That's why, as far as the Lord goes, who's qualified to testify of himself because he is the truth, I just say, hey, man,
exactly.
If you don't have to take my word for it, you can just go to the book and take that up with the high priest, and he'll tell you what time it
is. That book over there. Yeah. Go pick it up. Go get a read.
That's the standard, right? That is it's like before I go to Locke or de Tocqueville or any of those guys.
It's de Tocqueville, right?
To try to define what classical liberalism is, like, look, man, let's go to the truth.
Right.
This, if you really want the basis of what conservatism is, right? And if we want to get away from all the labels, we can go ahead and even distill that and just take it right to the word of God, and he will give you how the cow ate the cabbage as far as what real real liberty to conserve, and how do we preserve it. Yeah.
And what's amazing, what you're saying is when everybody goes and follows that same path and sheds themselves of the narratives and ideologies, we find more and more people coming together, because when you put them all in that environment with God, now what's happening is everybody's living in the truth. Everybody's being respectful for each other. Everybody's being grateful for each other, and now not only do solutions become more apparent, and not only does freedom thrive, but people have a bigger respect for each other and how they're living their lives.
True. But Republicans, they do have to be careful, and we talk about being the party of standards and values, while the Republican Party is losing standards and values, and it's doing it in the name of wanting to have a big tent. You don't want big tent conservatism, because you won't end up with a big tent of conservatives or Republicans or right leaners. You'll end up with a big tent of obscurity. I see these Republicans, like, they're throwing their arms around LGBTQ. They're affirming transgender, just like the church is, confirming transgenderism, confirming same-sex marriage, saying that it's great for them to adopt and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, okay, what happened to the party of standards and values? We got Republicans beating their chests saying, if you're going to come into America, you got to learn to assimilate, and you got to learn our values. You got to learn our ways. It's like, okay, so you point the finger at them and tell them they got to do that. But when it comes to coming into Republican tent, whatever. Just as long as you love America, we don't care if you're a pervert. We don't care about this or whatever. Just make sure you vote for Trump. Right?
I was going to say, as long as they're voting for the person that the establishment is telling them to vote for, it's all good.
Yes,
it's all good.
Yeah,
we check at the door. Vote for this person. We're all good. And by the way, we're going to ignore what the other side is doing right now, because as long as you're dropping a buck in our bucket.
Yeah, and the thing is, so when people they go by those narratives, and they you got to understand, any other policy that you're going to want is going to get canceled out. If you got people who don't respect the law of nature itself, they're not going to respect the laws that will uphold a society either. It's just not going to happen. You got a lot of Republicans out there who think that the salvation of America is going to be in the jobs and the economy. And it's like, no, that is not what's going to save America. The only thing that'll happen when we have a bigger job market and a better economy is that people are going to have more money to do stupid stuff with. That's what's going to happen. If Trump, with a great economy, I said it from the beginning, man. I say, dude, that's going to get pulled up from underneath him, because he has not laid the groundwork, and the Republicans have not laid the groundwork to make it stable in the culture. It's like, if good jobs and a good economy was what America needed, then you wouldn't be seeing all these divorces that are happening. Like, you go into the supermarket, you see these high-paid, high-profile celebrities on there getting divorced all the time. I mean, I hate to say it, y'all, but
and to your point, and look, I love Trump for all of his great policies and everything that he did, and love him for all the good things that he did. But had he learned to be a little bit more uniting in some ways, and unite on truth, and unite on, you get rid of the narratives and ideologies, unite on things that bring people together. To your point, not only do you have a healthy economy because of the policies, you have a healthy humanity.
Yes.
Because people are finding reasons to come together and unite. And when that happens, though, I really believe that when, and look, and I'm sure there's people who, believe differently than I do on some things, but ultimately, when we find those things that we can unite on, we show gratitude towards each other and respect towards each other. A lot of problems in our society get fixed. They get fixed naturally because of the truth, instead of injecting the narratives and ideologies that beat each other up into submission, if you will.
Yeah, and to Trump's credit, I mean, he did unite people. I mean, obviously, there was a big group of people, the MAGA voters and stuff like that. That was their unity. I don't think there's going to be, some politicians may be able to do it more than others, but you're going to have, each representative is going to have a degree of divisiveness, and they're going to, have a voter bloc who is going to be united with them. That's just the nature of things. I don't know if you're the only person who's really going to be able, and even Jesus had one side that wanted to tear him apart and another side that was like, hey, we worship you. So
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, this hope that I have where we have this agreement, that hope rests in the Lord, because there's going to come that day when he is going to have his body of people are going to say, you're the guy, and others who are going to be like, no, you're not the guy, and we'd rather go to hell than to serve you.
That's that's a pretty harsh. I say harsh. That's a pretty hard thought, if you will. But like you said, if we're not waking up, reality is gonna be a hard one to face.
Yes, and that's why well, at the end of the day, that's why I'm like say, y'all just put that on the Lord. If you invest that in the Lord Himself, that works out to everything else. So it almost has a trickle down effect, if you will. Right? It's like you really want to do America a favor.
Reaganomics, if you will.
We're trying to work it out on this level, where it's like, no, it's not going to work that way. You put that faith in the Lord, and that precipitates to and manifests where we are. Just like the Lord says, see beyond, your bosses and stuff like that, and serve me, see me, and that will put you in good employee status with your boss, and you become a better service to anybody else around you. And then on the natural side, I think a lot of things what Republicans are trying to do is that we're trying to take this from the top down. It's like, hinder the word of, heed the word of the Lord. You got to lay the axe to the root. We're trying to get Biden.
Right.
We're trying to. It's like, dude, that's you're swinging pretty high, man. You got to chop at the base, right?
That's right.
And Republicans aren't connecting. They're not connecting the axe to the base. I'm not trying to say get out there with a machete.
Right. Exactly. and just like earlier, when I was making my complaints I have about Republican establishment and leaders to some extent, it's we the people coming together. We forget how much power that we the people have.
Yeah.
And when we talk about how much more we have in common with people who are slightly left of center, we'll say, just for a description, or people right of center, when we all come together on the truth, we're grateful for what we have, and we come together on solutions, we can affect more change than any leader out there who may be trying to divide us.
Yes.
When we come together, we can solve problems in our community. We can solve problems in our legislatures. We can solve problems in our country simply by coming together on the things that we agree on, and stop allowing ourselves to be divided on the false narratives.
Absolutely, man, because there is a lot of gaslighting going on out there.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's working. It's working on people, and the division is it's getting ugly, man.
Well, we're going to finish up here in just a second, but so I want to ask you, how do we finish up on gratitude? What is something on gratitude that you think that we all need to come together on to solve problems in our country, unite more people, and be grateful for what we have in our country?
That attitude of gratitude, man, it's really where it's at. Yeah, you're right, man. Just be grateful for what you have. It's a lot of times, man, we be thinking about man, I remember how it was back in the day, and we talk about those back in the day days. And it's like, man, you was miserable back then too. We hated what was going on back. We hated what was going on back then too. And it's like, at some point, you just got to be like, you know what? Hey, today is the day the Lord has made. I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it. And I'm just going to try to do the best, with what I got, and not just for myself, but try to be a blessing to other people. Don't be gossiping, and don't be like backbiting and all that other stuff, man. Just just conduct yourself honorably, like a person who's grateful, to the Lord. And that right there, those things, it's like people, I don't know, it's like people think that they need to do like something like big or wondrous, anything like that. A lot of times it's the little things. Just carry on through your day, and like I said, with that attitude of gratitude, be polite and courteous to other people, man. You'd be surprised how you're making somebody else's day, and the chain reaction it has, just in doing that. That these things make America great. It's not the politicians, it's not the politics. It's taking your God-given talent and your God-given gift of life to be of good service and a good neighbor, and this beacon of what the truth is that's coming through you, to your neighbor. And those things make America great.
In the beginning, I asked you, where is freedom and liberty under attack? what you just now told me, how we just now ending this, is that the best way to protect freedom and liberty in America?
Man, and freedom is indeed always something. I mean, freedom is valuable, ain't it?
Right, he's
Well,
right.
people tend to want to steal things of value or destroy things of
That's
value.
true. How you like that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Another 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 great word from Zoe. Alfonso, it is always a pleasure to have you on my show. One day we're going to get together in person, and laugh and chuckle in person. You know,
That's
and,
right, man.
well, any final words?
Hey, well, you know what? Since you just mentioned it, because I do want to turn my Zoloft show into a sketch comedy show. Illustrating evergreen conservative principles and values and stuff like that, and the absurdities of liberal thought and whatnot, or left wing thought. Sorry, I had to put those things in the category. It just makes things a little easier for the moment.
Exactly. I get it, right? Yeah.
And you got to have some cameos on there, man. We got to put you in there. Got to catch you in there sometime.
And look, and not everybody who leans or is a liberal is a left wing extremist. It's that those left wing narratives and ideologies have pulled so many people away from the truth.
I don't know, man. Reaching into a womb and tearing a kid apart is pretty darn extreme. But they want to call us right wing extremists because hey, man, don't do that. You're an extremist.
I love it. I love it. All right, Zoe. I'm in the broadcast, but I'm going to talk to you offline for a second. Right? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Everybody else, look, this has been a great interview. You're going to find it on Rumble. You're going to find it on YouTube. You're going to find it on my podcast. And I'm going to be tweeting the daylights out of it so we wake up some people with that attitude of gratitude. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.